The great station hung in space like a jewel made of glass and silver. It was called Harmony's Promise, and today it would host the most important meeting in human history. Inside the main chamber, hundreds of alien beings gathered under lights that changed colors to suit different species' eyes. Ambassador Jakara, of the Velshan Empire, stood at the center platform. His skin shimmered blue and purple, and his forearms moved gracefully as he spoke. His voice filled the chamber through translation devices that every species wore. "Honored members of the Galactic Conclave," Jakara said, his tone smooth and confident. "We gather today to discuss the human question. For 50 years we have watched them. For 50 years they have remained in their small corner of space. I believe the time has come to offer them a place among us." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some aliens nodded with their heads or equivalent body parts. Others remained still, watching and waiting. High Arbiter Quelon shifted on his platform. He was old, so old that no one remembered his exact age. His insect-like body was covered in chitinous armor that had turned silver with time. When he spoke, everyone listened. "The human matter is complex," Quelon said, his mandibles clicking. "We must remember what happened at Proxima Centauri." The chamber fell silent. Every being present knew that name. 50 years ago, humans had built their first colony beyond their home system. They had called it New Hope. 2,300,000 humans had lived there, farming and building and dreaming of spreading across the stars. Then the Velshan ships had arrived. They had fired without warning. Within 6 hours, every human was dead. The colony was dust and ash floating in space. Jakara's skin rippled with colors that his species used for showing emotion. "A regrettable incident," he said, "but necessary from our perspective at the time. We believed humans might become a threat. We were wrong, of course. They have shown restraint since then. They deserve credit for their patience." In the back of the chamber, Ambassador Elena Cortez stood with her small human delegation. She was a tall woman with gray hair pulled back tightly. Her face was weathered like stone that wind had carved for decades. She wore a simple black suit with no decorations except a small pin on her collar. The pin showed the symbol of Proxima Centauri colony. She had been there. 50 years ago, Elena Cortez had been a young mother, a teacher on New Hope Colony. She had been visiting Earth when the attack happened. Her daughter Maria had stayed behind. Maria had been 8 years old. Now Elena watched Jakara speak about that day as if it were nothing more than a broken dish, an unfortunate mistake easily forgiven. "The Conclave offers humanity a generous path forward," Jakara continued. "Accept what happened as a tragic miscalculation. Join us as a recognized civilization. We will share some technology, grant you limited expansion rights, and ensure your protection. All we ask is that you accept certain restrictions for a probationary period of 200 years. 200 years. 10 human generations." Elena felt something cold settle in her chest. Other voices joined the discussion. The Krell representative, a being that looked like floating crystals held together by magnetic fields, spoke in chiming tones. "Humans must understand the galaxy's realities. The strong survive, the weak perish. The Conclave offers them survival." A representative from the Thane Collective, Reptilian and Ancient, added, "Every species in this chamber has suffered losses. Every species has learned to move past grief for the greater good. Humans are not special." The debate continued for hours. Elena and her team stood silent, listening. They had been instructed not to speak unless directly addressed. "Let them talk," her orders had said. "Let them reveal everything they think about us." Finally, as the station's simulated day began to dim, Quelon raised one clawed hand. "We must hear from the humans themselves," he said. "Ambassador Cortez, approach." Elena walked forward. Her footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. When she reached the central platform, she looked up at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. Some were curious. Some were sympathetic. Some looked at her the way someone might look at an insect they were deciding whether to crush. "Ambassador Cortez," Quelon said, his ancient eyes studying her, "you have heard our offer. Humanity stands at a crossroads. Accept our terms and your species will survive and eventually thrive. Reject them, and humanity faces isolation in a dangerous galaxy. Perhaps extinction." Elena met his gaze without flinching. "High Arbiter, I request 48 hours to consult with Earth before providing our answer." Jakara laughed, a sound like water flowing over stones. "Surely this is not a difficult decision. What is there to discuss?" The future of my species, Elena said quietly. That seems worth at least 2 days of consideration. Quellon nodded slowly. Granted. You have 48 standard hours. Return to Earth, discuss with your leaders and bring us humanity's decision. Elena bowed slightly, a gesture of respect she did not feel. Thank you, High Arbiter. As she turned to leave, Jakara called out to her. Ambassador Cortez, I wonder if I might ask you something personal? She stopped and looked back at him. You were at Proxima Centauri, were you not? You lost family there. Yes, Elena said. And yet you stand here as Earth's voice for peace. That must require great strength. Great wisdom. Jakara's skin showed colors that his species used for admiration. You understand that the past must sometimes be buried for the future to flourish. Elena was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was steady. I understand many things now that I did not understand 50 years ago, Ambassador Jakara. Good, he said, clearly pleased. Then I am confident humanity will make the right choice. Elena and her delegation left the chamber. They walked through corridors filled with alien species going about their business. Some glanced at the humans with curiosity, others ignored them completely. When they reached their ship, a small diplomatic vessel called the Olive Branch, Elena's second-in-command finally spoke. They think we have no choice, he said. Yes, Elena replied. They think we will accept anything to survive. Yes. They think we are weak. Elena looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, in the direction of Proxima Centauri, was a cloud of debris that had once been her daughter, her friends, her life. They think many things, she said softly. In 48 hours they will learn how wrong they are. The Olive Branch detached from Harmony's promise and jumped into quantum space, carrying humanity's representatives home. Behind them, in the great chamber, alien dignitaries congratulated themselves on their mercy and wisdom. None of them noticed that the humans had left monitoring devices scattered throughout the station. None of them suspected that human intelligence operatives had been aboard Harmony's promise for months, learning its systems, mapping its weaknesses, preparing for what might come. In the chamber, Jakara stood with several other Velshan officials. The humans will accept, he said confidently. They have no other option. In a few days, this unfortunate chapter will finally close. High Arbiter Quellon said nothing. He had lived for thousands of years and seen many species face such choices. Most chose survival. A few chose pride and were destroyed. But something about Ambassador Cortez troubled him. Something in her eyes when she looked at Jakara. Not fear, not hatred exactly, something colder, something patient. He dismissed the thought. Humans were emotional creatures, everyone knew that. They would accept reality. The galaxy continued turning. The station's lights dimmed for the sleep cycle, and 48 hours began counting down to humanity's answer. The Olive Branch arrived at Earth 36 hours before the deadline. Elena Cortez had not slept during the journey. She had spent the time reviewing files, studying reports, and preparing for what came next. Earth looked beautiful from orbit. Blue and green and white wrapped in clouds. 50 years ago, humanity had lived only here. Now they had stations throughout the Sol system, mining operations on asteroids, research bases on Mars and Europa, small compared to galactic civilizations. But humanity had built all of it themselves without help, under the constant watch of alien observers. The shuttle descended to Geneva, where the United Colonies headquarters stood. It was a building designed to look humble, not threatening, glass and stone surrounded by gardens, nothing that would frighten the galaxy. But beneath it ran 20 levels of command centers, military planning rooms, research laboratories, and quantum communication hubs. The peaceful surface hid the truth underneath, just like humanity itself. Elena walked into the main council chamber. 200 representatives from Earth's nations and off-world colonies filled the seats. They stood when she entered, a gesture of respect that felt heavy with meaning. At the center table sat the most powerful humans alive. Chancellor David Osei of the United Colonies, Admiral Marcus Chen, head of all human military forces, Director Sarah Okonkwo of Human Intelligence, Dr. James Winters, Chief Scientist of the Advanced Research Division, and others, each representing a crucial part of humanity's infrastructure. Welcome home, Ambassador, Chancellor Osei said. He was a big man with a kind face that had fooled many diplomats over the years. Tell us what happened. Elena told them everything. She described Jakara's arrogance, Quellon's caution, the conclave's certainty that humans would accept their terms. She played recordings of the entire session. When she finished, the chamber was silent. They truly believe we have no choice, Chancellor Osi said quietly. They are certain of it, Elena confirmed. Then they are fools, Admiral Chen said. He stood, his military uniform crisp and decorated with medals earned in conflicts most civilians did not know had happened. Director Okonkwo, show them. Sarah Okonkwo activated the holographic display. Images filled the air above the council table. Ships, weapons, technology that should not exist. For 50 years, Sarah said, her voice calm and professional. Humanity has prepared. While they watched us, we watched them back. When they destroyed Proxima Centauri, we collected every piece of their technology we could recover. We studied it. We reverse-engineered it. We improved it. The images changed, showing shipyards hidden in asteroid belts, manufacturing facilities on distant moons, research stations in the outer solar system where alien sensors could not reach. We built a fleet, Admiral Chen said. Not a large fleet by galactic standards, but a smart one. We have 147 warships equipped with weapons the Conclave has never seen. Quantum displacement drives that let us appear anywhere instantly. AI guidance systems that think faster than any organic brain. Relativistic kill missiles that cannot be stopped once launched. More images appeared. Battle simulations. Strategic maps. Casualty projections. We can hurt them, Chen continued. We can hurt them badly. The Velshan Empire in particular. Their military is large but soft, designed for ritual combat and displays of power. They have not fought a real war in 3,000 years. We have been studying war constantly for our entire history. Dr. Winters spoke next, his voice troubled. But we need to be clear about costs. Even with our advantages, this would be the most destructive war in human history. We estimate military casualties at 40%. Civilian deaths could reach hundreds of millions if the Conclave decides to unite against us. We might win battles, but a long war would destroy us. So we would need to win quickly, said Chancellor Osei. Yes, Chen agreed. Strike hard, strike fast, break the Velshan Empire before the Conclave can organize a response. Force them to accept our terms instead of their terms. Elena watched the council members absorb this information. She saw fear on many faces, hope on others, anger on most. There is another option, said Representative Amara Ndlovu from the African Union. We could accept their terms, survive, build strength slowly over 200 years, live to fight another day. 200 years as second-class citizens, said Representative Liu Feng from the Asian Coalition. 200 years of restrictions and controls. 200 years where they can crush any colony they consider threatening. Is that living? It is surviving, Amara replied. Our ancestors survived slavery, survived colonization, survived wars and plagues. They survived and eventually won freedom. We can do the same. Or we can refuse to be victims, said Representative Jackson from North America. We can show the galaxy that humanity does not kneel. The debate began in earnest then. It raged for hours. Representatives stood and spoke about duty, survival, justice, pride, fear, and hope. The chamber grew hot with the passion of 200 voices arguing humanity's future. Elena listened to all of it. Finally, Chancellor Osei raised his hand for silence. We need to vote, he said. But first I want everyone to see something. The holographic display changed. Now it showed images from Proxima Centauri, not computer simulations. Real footage recovered from the colony's final moments. People running through streets as fire fell from the sky. Children crying for parents who would never answer. Buildings collapsing. Ships trying to evacuate destroyed before they could launch. And then silence. Ash and silence. 2,300,000 people, Osei said quietly. Maria Cortez, age 8. David Wong, age 73. The Santiago family, all 6 of them. The Okafor twins, born just 3 days before the attack. Thousands of names. Thousands of stories ended. He paused, and his kind face was no longer kind. It was hard as stone. The Velshan called this a miscalculation, an unfortunate incident. They want us to forgive it, forget it, accept it as the price of joining their civilization. He looked around the chamber. I want every person here to look at those images and decide. Do we accept this? Do we bow our heads and thank them for the privilege of survival? Or do we show them what happens when you commit genocide against humanity? The vote was called. It was not close. 197 representatives voted to reject the conclave's terms. 3 voted to accept. The council chamber erupted in shouts, cheers, and some tears. Elena felt something shift inside her chest. For 50 years, she had carried the weight of Proxima Centauri alone. Now that weight was shared by all of humanity, Chancellor Osei turned to her. Ambassador Cortez, you will return to Harmony's promise and deliver our answer. Admiral Chen will provide you with sealed orders to be opened after you leave the station. Do you understand? Yes, Chancellor. Good. He smiled sadly. I am sorry we must send you back to that place. I am sorry for what you will have to do. Elena thought of Maria's face laughing at something funny. She thought of 2 million other faces all gone. I am not sorry, she said. Across Earth and throughout the Sol system, orders went out. The hidden fleet began moving into position. Soldiers said goodbye to families without explaining why. Scientists armed weapons they had hoped never to use. And in hundreds of memorial sites, humans stood before walls covered with names from Proxima Centauri. In Beijing, an old man placed flowers at a memorial. His son had died at Proxima. In Lagos, a woman wept as she read her sister's name carved in stone. In New York, a group of teenagers stood silently, learning about the massacre in school, understanding for the first time what their civilization had lost. And everywhere, people waited. They did not know exactly what was coming, but they felt it. The galaxy had taught humanity a lesson 50 years ago. Now humanity would show they had learned it well. Elena boarded the Olive Branch again 12 hours later. She carried humanity's answer in a sealed document, coded so only she could open it. Her crew was quiet during the journey back to Harmony's promise. They all knew this trip would be different from the last. As the station appeared ahead of them, growing larger in the viewport, Elena opened the sealed orders Admiral Chen had given her. She read them carefully. Then she read them again. Her second-in-command noticed her expression. Bad news? Elena looked at him and he saw something in her eyes that made him step back. No, she said softly. Good news. Very good news. The Olive Branch docked at Harmony's promise with 3 hours remaining before the deadline. Elena and her delegation walked through the familiar corridors back to the council chamber. Aliens passed them, going about their business. None of them knew what was about to happen. None of them suspected that the galaxy was about to change forever. In the council chamber, Jakara waited with his confident smile. High Arbiter Quellan sat in his place, looking ancient and tired. Hundreds of alien representatives filled the seats, expecting a formality, a grateful acceptance, a peaceful resolution. Elena took her position at the central platform. She held humanity's answer in her hand. The chamber fell silent. High Arbiter, Elena said, her voice steady and clear. Honored members of the conclave, I have returned with humanity's decision. Please proceed, Ambassador, Quellan said. Elena opened the document. She read the first line silently, feeling its weight. Then she looked up at Jakara, at his confident face, at his forearms relaxed and comfortable. She smiled and began to speak. Elena Cortez looked out at the assembled alien representatives and felt perfectly calm. She had waited 50 years for this moment. Her daughter had been dead for 50 years. 2,300,000 humans had been ash and memory for 50 years. Now the waiting was over. Honored members of the Galactic Conclave, she began, her voice carrying through the translation systems to hundreds of species. I bring humanity's answer to your generous offer. Jakara leaned forward slightly, his skin showing colors of satisfaction. Around the chamber, aliens shifted in their seats, preparing for the expected acceptance and the tedious formalities that would follow. The United Colonies of Humanity formally rejects the conclave's terms, Elena said. The chamber went silent. Then noise erupted from every direction. Shouts, clicks, whistles, roars, each species expressing shock in their own way. Furthermore, Elena continued, speaking over the noise, humanity hereby declares a state of war with the Velshan Empire. The chamber fell silent again, but this time the silence was different. It was the silence of shock so complete that even breathing stopped. Jakara stared at her. His skin flashed through colors so quickly they blurred together. You cannot be serious. I am completely serious, Elena said. She activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air above her. Before we discuss war, however, let me address the Proxima Centauri incident. You have called it a miscalculation, an unfortunate error. But we have evidence that tells a different story. The images showed Velshan military communications from 50 years ago. They had been encrypted with codes the Velshan believed unbreakable. Human intelligence had broken them 30 years ago. These are your own transmissions from the attack, Elena said, reading from them. Commander Javan to fleet. Target all population centers first. We want no survivors to spread news of human resistance. Admiral Crest to command. Strike shows strength. Other young species will learn from human extinction. She looked directly at Jakara. This was not a miscalculation. This was a deliberate genocide intended as a warning to the entire galaxy. You wanted to kill every human at Proxima Centauri. You succeeded, congratulations. Jakara's skin had gone pale. These communications are fabricated. Lies. They are authenticated by 3 independent species cryptography experts, Elena said calmly. All the evidence has been submitted to the Conclave's own records. Anyone can verify it. High Arbiter Quellen's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of distress. Ambassador Cortez, even if this evidence is accurate, war is not the answer. The Velshan Empire has a fleet of over 10,000 warships. Humanity has, at most estimates, perhaps 100. This is suicide, perhaps, Elena agreed. But we have decided that some things are worth dying for. Justice is one of them. Justice? Jakara's voice was incredulous. He stood, his forearms spread wide. You speak of justice? You primitive, short-lived creatures? We Velshan have ruled our space for 40,000 years. We have fought and won 1,000 wars. You have existed as a unified species for barely 3 centuries. What can you possibly do to us? Elena smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Let me show you. She pressed a control on her datapad. Throughout the chamber, hidden devices activated. The humans had planted them over months of careful infiltration. Now they broadcast a signal that overrode the station's communication systems. Every screen in the chamber showed the same images. Velshan space, 17 different locations, 17 military installations, and 17 human fleets dropping out of quantum displacement directly on top of them. The attacks were happening in real time. The aliens in the chamber watched as human ships appeared from nowhere, moving in perfect coordination. Weapons fired, not primitive explosives or energy beams. Something different. Missiles that seemed to warp space around them, making them impossible to track. Energy weapons that didn't just destroy but erased, leaving no debris behind. Swarms of small attack craft guided by artificial intelligence that thought and reacted faster than any organic crew. The first Velshan installation died in 4 minutes. The second took 6 minutes. Others fell just as quickly. No, Jakara whispered, watching his empire burn. No, this is impossible. We learned from you, Elena said, still speaking calmly while chaos erupted around her. When you destroyed Proxima Centauri, we recovered pieces of your ships. We studied them. We improved on them. While you watched us and dismissed us as primitive, we built a fleet that could kill you. Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication system, broadcast to the entire chamber. This is Admiral Marcus Chen of the United Colonies Armed Forces. At this moment, human fleets are engaging Velshan military targets across 17 systems. We have achieved complete tactical surprise. Velshan casualties are estimated at 47,000 and rising. Human casualties 0. The number hung in the air. 47,000. More than 20 times the number of humans who died at Proxima Centauri. High Arbiter Quellon rose from his seat. This must stop immediately. Ambassador Cortez, recall your forces. The Conclave will mediate. We can find a peaceful solution. No, Elena said simply. No? Quellon's ancient voice cracked. You would condemn your entire species for revenge? We would teach the galaxy a lesson, Elena replied. She looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces showing fear, shock, and anger. For thousands of years you have operated under certain rules. The strong do what they want. The weak accept what they must. Species are destroyed and everyone calls it unfortunate but necessary. She stepped forward, and despite being much smaller than most beings in the chamber, her presence filled the space. Humanity rejects these rules, she said. We will not accept genocide as diplomacy. We will not forgive mass murder as policy, and we will not join a civilization built on the graves of species who could not defend themselves. Then you will die, Jakara snarled. The Conclave will unite against you. Every species here will hunt you down. Perhaps, Elena said, But first your empire will fall, and every species watching will learn what happens when you commit genocide. They will learn that even a small species, even a weak species, can make you pay a terrible price. Alarms began sounding throughout the station. Security forces were mobilizing. The chamber doors sealed automatically. "You are under arrest," Kelon said, his voice heavy with regret. "All human delegates will be detained until this situation is resolved." Elena pressed another control on her datapad. Throughout Harmony's promise, human infiltration teams activated. They had been aboard for months, posing as maintenance workers, merchants, and tourists. Now they revealed themselves. "I do not think so, High Arbiter," Elena said. "My people control your station's life support, navigation, and defensive systems. If you attempt to detain us, we will simply leave. If you attempt to stop us from leaving, we will demonstrate that human weapons work just as well on space stations as they do on warships." She let that sink in. Then she continued, "We are departing now. You have a choice to make. You can attempt to unite the Conclave against humanity. You can try to hunt us down, but every day you delay, more Velshan installations will burn. Every hour you debate, more Velshan ships will die. The price of destroying humanity just went up considerably." The human delegation walked toward the exits. Security forces stood in their way, weapons drawn. Elena did not slow down. "Move," she said quietly. The security forces looked at their commanders. The commanders looked at High Arbiter Quelon. Quelon looked at the screen showing Velshan bases exploding. "Let them pass," he said wearily. Elena and her team walked through corridors filled with stunned aliens. Some looked angry. Some looked frightened. Some looked at the humans with something that might have been respect. They reached the olive branch and boarded. As the ship detached from the station, Elena looked back at Harmony's promise one last time. "Do you think they will come after us?" her second-in-command asked. "Eventually," Elena said, "but not immediately. They need time to process what just happened, time to argue and debate, time to realize their comfortable galaxy just changed forever." The olive branch jumped into quantum space, heading back to Earth. Behind them, the conclave chamber erupted into chaos. Species shouted at each other. The Krell demanded immediate action against humanity. The Thane Collective urged caution. Smaller species whispered among themselves, wondering if perhaps the humans had the right idea. Jakara stood alone, watching the screens show his empire's installations burning. His skin had gone completely gray, the Velshan color of shock. "How did we not see this coming?" he whispered. High Arbiter Quelon approached him. The ancient arbiter looked tired, older than he had in centuries. "Because we did not want to see," Quelon said quietly. "We looked at humans and saw primitives. We saw a species we could control, use, dismiss. We never considered that they might look back at us and see enemies to defeat." "What do we do now?" Jakara asked. Quelon watched the human ship disappear from sensors. "Now we learn a lesson that we should have learned long ago. Never underestimate a species that has nothing left to lose." Across the galaxy, news says. 3 months into the war, the galaxy was learning to fear humanity. Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the warship Retribution, watching the tactical display. Before him, the Keswick expanse stretched across 3 star systems. It was Velshan territory, wealthy and well-defended. Or it had been. "Status report," Chen said calmly. "Velshan tertiary fleet is attempting to regroup at Keswick Prime," his tactical officer reported. 217 ships remaining from their original 400. "They are using the planet's civilian population as a shield." Chen studied the display. Keswick Prime held 30 million Velshan civilians. The fleet was positioning itself in orbit, knowing humans would hesitate to fire on a populated world. They were wrong. "Begin evacuation protocol," Chen ordered. His officers looked at him in surprise. "Sir?" "The Velshan use civilians as shields because they assume we are like them. They assume we will either fire anyway and become monsters or hesitate and be destroyed. Show them they are wrong." He smiled slightly. "Show them we have a third option." Across the fleet, human ships moved into position. But instead of attacking, they broadcast a message on all Velshan frequencies. Chen's face appeared on every screen on Keswick Prime. "People of Keswick Prime," he said in perfect Velshan. "My name is Admiral Marcus Chen. In 30 minutes we will destroy the Velshan fleet in orbit above your world. You have 30 minutes to evacuate to the southern hemisphere. Any civilian remaining in the northern hemisphere after that time will be in the combat zone." Chaos erupted on the planet. 30 million people trying to move in 30 minutes seemed impossible, but humans had learned to be efficient at this. They had practice. Deploy the assistance packages, Chen ordered. Human ships descended through the atmosphere not to attack but to help. They broadcast evacuation routes. They disabled the Velshan fleet's communication systems so military commanders could not countermand the evacuation. Some human ships even landed to pick up the slowest civilians, the elderly and young, carrying them to safety. The Velshan military watched in confusion, then horror as their shield evaporated. Civilians fled south as fast as they could move. And the human fleet waited, patient as death. 29 minutes later, the last civilian transports crossed into the southern hemisphere. Chen gave the order. Fire. The Velshan tertiary fleet died in 8 minutes. The humans used precision weapons that destroyed military targets while leaving the planet below untouched. When it was over, 217 warships were debris and not one civilian had died. Broadcast to Keswick Prime, Chen ordered. Tell them they can return to their homes now. Tell them humanity does not make war on children. The message was sent. On Keswick Prime, 30 million Velshan civilians stood in the southern hemisphere, looking up at the sky where their military fleet had just been erased. They had expected death. They had received mercy. The recording of this battle spread across the galaxy within hours. The impact was immediate and devastating to Velshan morale. Humanity was not just winning. They were winning while being more civilized than the civilizations who called themselves advanced. In the conclave, the debate raged constantly. Some species demanded action against humanity. Others argued for caution. A few quietly applauded. They are making fools of us, the Krell representative chimed angrily. We cannot allow a primitive species to dictate terms. Primitive? The Thane representative responded. They have destroyed over 40% of the Velshan military in 3 months. They conduct war more effectively than species who have existed for millennia. Perhaps we should reconsider our definition of primitive. High Arbiter Kellon listened to the arguments, but his mind was elsewhere. He was thinking about patterns. Humanity could have glassed Keswick Prime. Instead, they evacuated it. They could have massacred prisoners. Instead, they treated them well and sent them home. They could have terrorized civilian populations. Instead, they went out of their way to protect them. This was not the behavior of a species seeking revenge. This was the behavior of a species making a statement. We are better than you, humanity was saying. We will beat you while being more moral than you ever were. Quilon found it both impressive and terrifying. Far from the conclave, in Velshan space, former Ambassador Zakara stood on the bridge of a military cruiser. He was a commander now, given the rank because his empire was desperate. Too many experienced commanders had died in the first weeks of war. He stared at reports from Keswick Prime, reading them over and over. The humans had evacuated the civilians. They had protected them. Why? Commander, we have a communication from Earth, his communication officer reported. They are requesting to speak with you directly. Zakara's skin flashed colors of confusion. Accept it. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen. The human looked calm, almost relaxed. Behind him, Zakara could see the bridge of a human warship. It looked efficient and deadly. Commander Zakara, Chen said, I believe we spoke briefly at the conclave session 3 months ago. You are the one destroying my empire, Zakara replied, his voice bitter. Yes, Chen agreed without hesitation. I wanted to speak with you personally because you keep asking your strategists why we are doing this. I can hear you asking in the communications we intercept. What do the humans want? You ask. What is their endgame? Tell me then, Zakara demanded. What do you want? Total surrender? Our complete extinction? We want justice, Chen said simply. Justice for Proxima Centauri. Your empire's complete military neutralization. Then we will talk about peace. On our terms. You cannot win a long war, Zakara said. Eventually other species will intervene. Eventually your luck will run out. Perhaps, Chen acknowledged. But how much of your empire will remain by then? How many more fleets will I destroy? How many more of your worlds will watch their military forces erased while we protect their civilians? He leaned forward. We are not trying to conquer you. We are not trying to enslave you. We are teaching you and the entire galaxy a lesson. Genocide has consequences. You self-righteous, Zakara began, but Chen interrupted. Your empire sued for peace last week. We rejected it. You offered reparations. We rejected them. You offered territory, technology, trade agreements. We rejected everything. Do you know why? Shakara said nothing. Because you still do not understand what you did wrong, Chen said quietly. You think Proxima Centauri was a political mistake? An error in judgment. You think if you pay enough, apologize enough, it will be forgiven. But 2,300,000 humans are dead. Children are dead, and your empire never even considered that you had committed a crime. Chen's expression hardened. So we will make you understand. We will reduce your military to nothing. We will make sure that when you look at the stars you remember what happened when you murdered humans. And then, maybe then, we will discuss peace. The communication ended. Shakara stood alone, feeling something he had never felt before. Not just fear, helplessness. The war continued. Week after week, month after month, human fleets struck Velshan targets. Each battle was calculated, precise, devastating. The humans lost ships sometimes. They took casualties. But they were winning, and everyone knew it. On Earth, Elena Cortez had been promoted to Secretary of Defense. She coordinated the war effort, working 18-hour days, ensuring every strike served humanity's larger purpose. When the Conclave sent envoys to Earth, begging for humanity to accept a mediated settlement, Elena met them personally. The Conclave offers generous terms, the envoy said. He was a Thane, ancient and respected. Reparations from the Velshan Empire. Territory for human expansion. Full technology sharing. Recognition as a major power. All of this if you simply agree to negotiate. Elena looked at him across the conference table. Behind her, the walls displayed names. 2,300,000 names from Proxima Centauri. You are negotiating with the wrong species, she said. We do not want appeasement. We do not want to be bought. We want the Velshan Empire to understand what they took from us. They understand, the envoy insisted. Ambassador Shakara has been removed from power. Emperor Vorshan has publicly apologized. They are willing to face justice. Are they? Elena asked. Then let me ask you something. If we stopped right now, if we accepted your generous terms, what would change? Would the Conclave create laws against genocide? Would you establish protections for young species? Would you ensure that what happened to us never happens again? The envoy hesitated. The Conclave operates by consensus. Such changes would take time. There is your answer, Elena said. You want us to stop because we are making you uncomfortable. Not because you think we are wrong. You want the old order back, where the strong do what they want and the weak accept it. But humanity rejects that order. She stood, and the envoy stood with her. When the Velshan Empire is neutralized, Elena said, when they can never threaten another species again, then we will talk about peace. Until then, the war continues. The envoy left and Elena returned to her work. Reports flooded in constantly. Battle results. Casualty counts. Resource allocations. Each one represented human lives being risked, human resources being spent. Sometimes, late at night, she wondered if they were doing the right thing. Then she would look at Maria's picture on her desk, frozen at age 8, forever young, and she would return to work. Across the gone year after humanity rejected peace, the Velshan homeworld hung in space like a dying star. Velshan Prime, capital of an empire that had ruled for 40,000 years, now sat surrounded by human warships. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking at the planet below. It was beautiful. Blue oceans, green continents, cities that glowed like jewels. 5 billion Velshan lived there, going about their lives while their empire collapsed around them. All fleets report ready, his tactical officer said. We can begin the assault on your command. Hold position, Chen ordered. We wait. They had been waiting for 3 hours. Chen had sent a message to what remained of Velshan leadership. He had offered one final chance to talk. Now he waited to see if they would take it. On the planet below, in the Imperial Palace that had stood for 10,000 years, former Ambassador Zakara walked through empty halls. Most of the government had fled or committed ritual suicide. The Emperor was dead, killed by his own guards in the final days of the war. Zakara was the highest-ranking official left alive. He had been stripped of his military rank after losing 3 fleets. He had been imprisoned for incompetence, but when everyone else had run, he had remained. Someone needed to face the humans. Someone needed to end this. He reached the communication center and activated the channel to the human fleet. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen. I am Zakara, he said, His skin was dull gray, the color of defeat. I come with the Velshan Empire's unconditional surrender. Chen nodded slowly. I will transport you to my ship. We will discuss terms. There are no terms to discuss, Jakara said bitterly. You have won. We have lost. Do what you will with us. That is not how this works, Chen replied. You seem to think we want to destroy you. You are wrong. We want something much harder. We want you to change. An hour later, Jakara stood in a conference room aboard the Retribution. Around the table sat Admiral Chen, Secretary of Defense Elena Cortez, and several other human officials. Also present via hologram was High Arbiter Quellen and representatives from the Conclave. Elena placed a document on the table. It was thick, hundreds of pages. These are humanity's terms, she said. Read them carefully, Jakara read. As he did, his skin flickered through colors of shock, disbelief, and something else. Something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. You are not demanding our extinction? He asked, looking up. No, Elena said. We are not you. We do not commit genocide. But these terms, Jakara continued reading. Complete military disarmament. Reparations spanning 3 centuries. War crime tribunals for those who ordered the Proxima Centauri attack. Permanent human monitoring of Velshan space. Yes, Chen confirmed. You are destroying the Empire, Jakara said. No, Elena replied. We are destroying your ability to hurt others. Your people will live. Your civilization will continue. But you will never again have the power to commit genocide. Jakara looked at the humans. He had spent a year fighting them, losing to them, watching them dismantle his empire piece by piece. He had expected monsters. He had found something worse. He had found teachers. These terms are acceptable, he said quietly. There is more, Elena said. She activated a holographic display. We do not want to just punish the Velshan Empire. We want to reform the entire conclave. Now she looked at High Arbiter Quellen's hologram. The ancient arbiter regarded her steadily. The current system allows species to commit atrocities without consequences, Elena said. Young species have no protection. The strong rule by intimidation. This must end. She displayed a proposed treaty. We call this the Proxima Accords. It establishes legal protections for all species. It creates an enforcement mechanism for punishing genocide and mass crimes. It gives emerging civilizations time to develop without interference. And who will enforce these accords? The Krell representative chimed skeptically. Who will have the authority? Humanity, Elena said simply. We have proven we can fight and win. We have also proven we can show mercy. We will serve as guardians, ensuring the accords are followed. The chamber erupted in holographic noise. Multiple species objected. How dare humans demand such power? How dare they impose their values on the galaxy? Elena waited for the noise to die down. Then she spoke again, and her voice was cold. The Conclave has a choice, she said. Accept these terms and reform. Create a galaxy where justice actually exists. Or refuse and watch as humanity continues this war. We have defeated the Velshan Empire. We can defeat others. We would prefer not to, but we will if necessary. You are threatening the entire Conclave? A voice demanded. No, Elena replied. We are offering the Conclave a chance to become what it always claimed to be. A force for peace and civilization. But real peace requires real justice. Real civilization requires protecting the weak, not exploiting them. High Arbiter Quellen raised one clawed hand, and the chamber fell silent. He had said little during the meeting, just watching and listening. Now all eyes turned to him. I have lived for thousands of years, Quellen said slowly. I have witnessed the rise and fall of empires. I have seen species come and go. In all that time I have watched the Conclave maintain order through convenience, not principle. We punished only those too weak to defend themselves. We forgave crimes committed by the strong. He paused, his ancient eyes reflecting something that might have been shame. Humanity has taught us a painful lesson, he continued. They showed us that victims can become powerful, that the weak can become strong, and most importantly, that those who suffer injustice never truly forget, even if we convince ourselves they should. Quellen looked directly at Elena. The Conclave will accept the Proxima Accords, not because you force us to, but because you are right. The old order was built on sand. It is time to build something better. The vote was called. Not every species agreed. Some objected bitterly, but the majority voted yes. The galaxy was changing, and even those who hated the change could feel its inevitability. Jakara signed the surrender documents. His hand shook as he did so, but he signed. The Velshan Empire as it had existed for 40,000 years was over. What would rise from its ashes no one knew. As the meeting ended and delegates prepared to leave, Jakara approached Elena privately. "I need to know something," he said. "Did you plan this from the beginning? The war, the mercy, the reform of the conclave. Was it all calculated?" Elena looked at him for a long moment. "We planned to survive," she said. "We planned to make you pay for what you did. We planned to ensure it never happened again. Everything else," she shrugged. "We adapted as we went." "You are a terrifying species," Jakara said quietly. "You made us this way," Elena replied. "Remember that." 6 months later, Elena stood at the memorial site for Proxima Centauri. It had been expanded, made into something beautiful. A park floating in space at the exact coordinates where the colony had been. 2,300,000 names carved in crystal that caught the light of the local star. Dignitaries from across the galaxy had come for the dedication ceremony. Human leaders, alien ambassadors, even some Velshan who came to pay respects. The war was over. Peace had returned, but it was a different peace than before. Chancellor Osei gave a speech. High Arbiter Quellon spoke about lessons learned. Others offered words of healing and hope. When it was Elena's turn to speak, she walked to the platform and looked out at the gathered crowd. She saw humans who had fought in the war, aliens who had opposed them, Velshan who had surrendered. 51 years ago, Elena said, 2,300,000 humans died here. They died because the galaxy operated under rules that made their deaths acceptable. They died because the strong believed they could kill the weak without consequence. She paused, looking at the names shining in the starlight. We could not bring them back, she continued, but we could ensure their deaths meant something. We could make the galaxy understand that genocide carries a price, not just a political price or an economic price, but a real price paid in blood and fire. We chose vengeance over peace, Elena said. We chose war over survival. Many in this crowd thought we were foolish, suicidal, emotional creatures making irrational choices. She smiled slightly. Perhaps we were all those things. But we were also right. And now the galaxy has changed because of it. She gestured to the memorial. These names represent a question the galaxy must answer. Will we build a civilization where such deaths never happen again, or will we slip back into the old ways? Humanity will be watching, Elena said. We will enforce the Proxima Accords. We will protect emerging species. We will ensure justice exists not just in words but in reality. This is our promise to the dead. This is our promise to the future. The ceremony ended. People dispersed slowly, stopping to read names, to reflect, to remember. Elena stood alone for a while, looking at Maria's name. Maria Cortez, age 8. Forever young. Forever lost, we did it, Elena whispered. We made them understand. I hope you would be proud. Admiral Chen approached, standing beside her in silence for a moment. 50 years from now, he said quietly. Historians will debate whether we did the right thing.